Hey, what's up? It's Jim, and today I'm going to talk about the film Ex Machina. When people talk about a film like Ex Machina, and something I've noticed from all the reviews, is they talk about how this is a sci-fi film with ideas. Probably because there's not really explosions in it, so there's probably ideas there. Whenever I see a sci-fi film that supposedly has ideas, I kind of want to look at those ideas and have those ideas hold up. I mean, just because a science fiction film isn't a big blockbuster doesn't necessarily just give it an intellect. While I was watching Ex Machina, I didn't really feel like any of the ideas were anything new or being portrayed in any sort of a new way. And it kind of made me think, well, what's so different about Ex Machina than all the other films about AI and all the other films about people creating robots with artificial intelligence? What makes Ex Machina different, and what makes it unique, and what makes it something that you should check out rather than all the other plentiful ones that have come out before and will probably keep coming out this year? And what differentiates itself and what makes it this smarter, more intelligent science fiction film that it strives so much to be? And I don't really feel like it gets to the thing that it really wants to, as both the film thinks it does and clearly everyone else thinks it does as well. A man named Caleb, played by Domhnall Gleeson, who has been selected in a contest with his company, works for a company called Blue Book, I think, who is kind of like a Google type company. He gets to spend a week with the head of the company, played by Oscar Isaacs, who plays the CEO Nathan, who created Blue Books when he was 13, and he flies him out to his secret crazy estate. And then he gets there and it's this amazing future super technology house, and realizes that he wasn't brought there to code, and it's not some sort of a contest. He's there to do a Turing test on this robot woman that Oscar Isaacs has created, and he has to do various sessions with her to test the Turing test, which is to show if a human is interacting with a computer, as soon as it doesn't feel that it's a computer or has artificial intelligence, then that computer has passed. And Nathan wants to keep testing Caleb with this robot woman until Caleb feels that the robot woman has intelligence, has consciousness. There's certain things about this movie that are interesting, and I think one of them certainly is the idea that if there was artificial intelligence, Google or Apple would be behind it. If you told that to anyone, would go, yeah, I accept that that would probably happen. But then I started to think about, just because you accurately adapt something for the current times doesn't really mean just because of that it's a good story. The whole idea of having artificial intelligence and a robot going "Father, why have you created me?" is a long kind of cliche of the science fiction and the artificial intelligence genre. Chappie was a way worse version of a movie like this. But I think what Ex Machina's problem is it's just too much of a kind of bland example of that. It doesn't do anything different with it. A film a lot about artificial intelligence are the Terminator movies. And the thing about the Terminator movies is it's kind of like a cat and mouse chase, the first one. It has a unique feel to it. It almost doesn't feel like an artificial intelligence film. This film is supposed to be about ideas, but when I think about science fiction and ideas, and it's something that I've noticed as smaller films want to take on science fiction ideas and do kind of things that Rod Serling did and The Outer Limits did, and science fiction stories used to have to do because no one was going to give them a lot of money, is they'd really have to have this impression with the story, but it would leave you with something morally. And I don't really think Ex Machina says anything morally that I haven't heard a bazillion times from a bazillion different sources. And how it does it is fine, I guess, but it just doesn't make me go, oh wow, that really made me think about this, that Google or Mark Zuckerberg would make a robot woman. When I think of a science fiction film with ideas, I used to think of something that would blow me away, that would make me still think about things. And it's almost like Ex Machina has a confidence in its portrayal, but it's kind of like a false confidence, where it really feels like it's saying something unique, but it's yeah, people have already said that, man, a lot of times. When I think about film and I think about how a lot of times we see the same fucking story over and over again, and I've noticed particularly when summer blockbusters do it again, people get annoyed. But when other movies do it, for some reason we kind of accept it. And that's the biggest load of horse shit, like, probably ever, and it's the biggest fallacy, I think, in our modern audience, that, like, a documentary can mess up its structure and still be called a fine film, and a summer blockbuster will do the same exact thing and get chastised for it. And Ex Machina kind of falls under that for me. I don't actually hate this movie, I probably just hate the idea of stuff like this. This is probably kind of like me in that show Black Mirror, where I'm like, yeah, I mean, Black Mirror is cool, but like, I would probably much rather watch The Twilight Zone. If someone brings up The Twilight Zone, I can think of instantly 5 episodes that blew me away. And to me, it's like, okay, if you're updating these things, if you're adapting these things, say something with it. Use that to say something to make me think about it. But like, just me thinking, hey, yeah, totally makes sense, Google would make it. That's a boring ass statement. I think Rick and Morty said more in the scene where Rick decides to make a robot that passes butter at the dinner table than Ex Machina did in this entire movie. It's compelling, it's interesting, it has good acting in it, it's well shot, but it's not this intelligent science fiction film. It's a blandly genre science fiction film that's really well made. And that's kind of what it is. When you look at this period in science fiction, I don't think Ex Machina will be this beacon of intelligent science fiction that people are gonna act like it is. It's kind of one of those things that's big at the time, and then like 20 years later someone brings it up and go, hey, you know, the 2 of the guys from The Force Awakenings were in this movie the same year, and it's like this smarter sci-fi movie. I am curious in 5 years, because I guarantee you someone will write a blog and it'll say how Domhnall Gleeson and Oscar Isaacs were in a movie before The Force Awakenings. Domhnall Gleeson kind of plays a similar role to what he did in Frank. He's not really changing his kind of star portrayal that he has going on thus far, but he does it well, and his charisma with Oscar Isaacs and the woman who played the robot, Alicia Vikander, maybe, was very good. He's really good at not just playing the everyman, but showing how that everyman relates to everyone else also. You kind of get like how he's very easy to talk to. Oscar Isaacs, I think, really actually steals the show. When you're playing kind of a CEO, he could have done a version of Zuckerberg or the guys who run Google, but he plays this kind of like jockey, strange loner in a way that is very Oscar Isaacs. You can tell he's having fun with it, but he also like knows exactly where to take it to keep that character really interesting. Every time Oscar Isaacs was on screen, I really liked watching him. Oscar Isaacs is a fine actor who has some mystery about him, which I love about Oscar Isaacs as an actor. He's very compelling on screen, and he knows how to use that to help also the story, because he is a character who, as soon as he walks on screen, he's supposed to be a big deal, and if you were there and in this world or whatever, you would be like, oh, what's he doing? What's he thinking? What's he act like? And you kind of like get that through his performance. And he has an amazing like dance scene with this one girl who works there that is just hilarious. He went for it. Like, oh my god, Oscar Isaacs is really becoming one of my favorite actors of the modern age. This was directed by Alex Garland, who helped write 28 Days Later and wrote the book The Beach, and I think wrote Sunshine also. This is his big directorial debut. When I think about all those things, I think the scripts are a lot better than this and a lot more unique, and this feels like more of him showing himself off as a director and less as a writer. I feel like he was more interested in him as a director. He was great with the actors, particularly Alicia Vikander, who does a good performance. She doesn't do as like a 70s actor who's gonna play a robot, does it like they're like made out of clockwork or something like that, and you can really tell they're a robot. In this, you could like really understand why someone would think she is human and everything like that, but she was very, very good, almost to the point where it's like an actor who you're like, oh, well, they just kind of got lost in that part. I couldn't actually see her getting big off of this because the role was actually too good, which is a bizarre thing to say, but I really feel like herself washed away and Ava came out of it, and that she could really show that there's this intelligence and this mind behind this robot. I've talked a lot about that before, but a lot about acting is about storytelling, and all these actors understood in their performances exactly the importance of that performance for the story. There's not a lot of characters in this film. It's really mainly the 3 people. He's able to navigate that as well as he does in his first film is very impressive, and I liked the cinematography, which is by Rob Hardy, and it showed, you know, the space very well. It's so Kubrick shining influence, it's almost exhausting, and the score, which kept having this building score thing happening, was far too much. Like, they really needed to quit it with that. Sometimes this film just brings up points with its score and with its cinematography far too much, and the pacing is a little... I get that they're bored in this house in the middle of nowhere, but you're hitting me over the head with it. I get this is a slower, smarter movie, but it was really just shoving itself down in my throat about a lot of that crap most of the time. Ex Machina is kind of like the style of making a smart science fiction film, an intelligent science fiction film with ideas, and it's really good at that, but it's not one that like actually makes you think. It's just a decent science fiction film that doesn't have explosions. And maybe for some that's good enough, and maybe I've seen too much and I've gone too far and I can't enjoy something like this. And if you're newer to science fiction, maybe you can get into this. Maybe if you really think Interstellar's deep, this is the movie for you. But I don't think this is a dumb movie. I am giving it far too much shit than probably it deserves. I do think it's a decent enough film at what it's trying to do. I mean, compare this to Chappie, it's a fucking masterpiece. Ex Machina's biggest problem is it's not really doing anything I haven't seen before from this. It's not twisting it in any way. It's not being an interesting genre piece. It's bland take on its subject matter, and it's almost kind of decent enough story. If you're into science fiction, you'll probably like it. But this isn't the smart sci-fi film that's going to blow you away and keep you thinking about ideas in the theater. Is that anything more than the so-called dumber sci-fi films? Does that make this film more elevated, where we can say this is a sci-fi film with better ideas that is somehow elevated because it doesn't have explosions? And in this case, I'd really have to say no. I think it just is a well-told, decent little sci-fi movie. It's kind of pompousness that's kind of surrounding it, and it's definitely in there, kind of ruins it. It's just not a different take on that material. It's the same old thing that we've seen a lot of times before, just all 2015'd up. So if you have seen Ex Machina and you would like to talk about it, then comment below in the comments and subscribe if you would like to. Sorry I didn't shave. I just didn't. So, I've been doing pretty good lately, but I didn't for this one. There's no real reason. I just didn't, so. That's a lame reason, I'm sorry. Next time, I will shave. There we go.